welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of op-dec Operation Deceit, Blue Honor, for which this vlog and my blog are named for, and also the Trilogia trilogy, a dark fantasy science fiction. Today, let's talk about a letter to my readers that I wrote back in 2017 and compare that to, let's check out the date here, a letter that I wrote to my readers in February of 2025, this year. So, in 2017, I thanked everyone who read my books, whether they liked them or not. Not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody likes military fiction. Not everyone likes a fantastical science fiction that takes mythology and makes it, parallel universes and the ones that are kind of in control of our universe and how we operate and what we're doing here. And World War II is a touchy and emotional subject for many. The Holocaust is nothing to shake a stick at. It's a very serious subject. And with that, Nazis, of course, and the symbolism and stuff, they're scary. Even though we have Neos running around cosplaying, they're so unserious. Can't stand these fuckers, just what weirdness. What mental defect do you have to think that pure race is even a thing? Anyway, get off that topic. Anyway, I thanked readers for getting in touch with my books and reading them, reviewing them, leaving me a word, getting in contact with me. I have really great reviews on my books, and I'm so proud of that. I've worked very hard, countless hours, putting together my manuscripts and crafting the stories and creating these characters. And I'm working with an editor to make sure that everything is clean and well written, and a proofreader to make sure that any of those typos have been cleaned up as well. Interior designer, exterior designer, the whole gamut. All of that is a lot of work, and it just makes me so proud when somebody leaves me a review and they're excited. I know a lot of people struggle with Trilogia because it's got a lot in it in that first part of that first book because of all the world building. And I assure people, I'm like, if you're struggling with those first initial pages that kind of explain the structure of the world, you can brush past that and pick up with Mael and her grotto and just start reading, and then you can come back to that and it'll kind of be like a bit of a primer for you. It is supposed to be a primer when you're reading that to kind of understand, but don't get hung up on it. Don't get hung up on it because a lot of it comes along in the reading and you'll be like, oh, okay, now that makes sense, and it'll just be in the back of your mind. Some of the words are a little tough because they come from Sanskrit. And it's like, just sound it out. The way that it is written on the page is spoken Sanskrit. Thank you to the German university working on that project for providing that information. That is a fantastic website for spoken Sanskrit. So it's phonetic. Way that you think that it is pronounced when you're reading it probably is correct. And there's, of course, resources. Going to YouTube, you can pop that word in there and say, pronounce this. And 99% of the time, you will find that word there. So I've had to do that. And I still struggle with some of the pronunciations because they're pronunciations that, sounds that don't necessarily exist within the English language in frequent use, or we're not aware of it. We probably can liken it to a word that we commonly use, but we're not thinking about it in that manner. So once you hook that up, you'll be able to pronounce it better. Like I'm in the process of learning Mandarin, and I decided that before even crossing a pinyin, getting down those sounds, the different accents and those sounds, and it's just so slightly different. And I want to get that down before I start learning words, because I feel like if I learn to pronounce a word incorrectly, that'll be stuck in my head, and then I have to unlearn that, so that's more difficult. And children they learn sounds first. So I'm just going to learn the way that they learn, and I'm going to take my time. I think once I get that down and pinyin down, it will be easier to learn to speak it. I'm not so sure with the characters how much that is going to tax me. But like children learn it, it shouldn't be a problem. I will start to recognize them. So it's just a whole other world, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's the type of work that I put in my books. So when somebody comes back and they leave me a review, that makes me ecstatic, because that means you've recognized the work that I've put in, and I'm over the moon with that. I love that, because there is a lot of effort in these works, and I don't know how to express that to people when they find out that I do write, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're a writer, what have you written, blah blah blah. And we I mention the books and stuff, and in many cases they just, that's nice. And I'm like, no, that's my life's work, honey. It ain't nice. I put a lot of effort into this. I have 2 degrees. I studied my ass off to do this stuff, and it's better than better than nice. I'm like, I don't know if people realize, how much effort goes into writing a book. And I'm just scribbling down words. I'm just pulling this stuff out my ass. And especially my military fiction, I had a lot of research to do. I mean, I had a timetable to figure out with op-dec for subs to operate in, and also for my story arc to follow missions that actually existed within that time period. I had to figure out, a movie, what theater it might be playing in, where in New York City, where in Boston. It isn't easy. You don't just pull it out of your butt. Not everybody can just sit down and do this. It takes a lot of effort and talent. Authors have talent. This is a really cool thing that authors do. I've always been impressed by it, and that's why I wanted to become one. So I hope that I do justice to the field. But, in many cases, books are not considered as a purchase for many people, because for some reason they think of it as frivolous expense. An ebook may cost as much as a music single. And of course, I'm thinking, back in the 80s and 90s, a little cassette single, they were like $3.99, $2.99. You can buy from iTunes $1.29, 99 cents. A lot of books are downplayed. A lot of authors downplay their value, so you'll buy. Absolutely tragic. And a paper book costs about the same as a Blu-ray, a DVD, a movie. But they would rather have like cookie cutter movies, on stacks and stacks. I'm no different. I got stacks and stacks over there of movies. I also have stacks of books everywhere. I do both. And it's tragic because a movie has to be written before it can be filmed. It does. I'm sorry. You can have these unscripted things, which do away with the screenwriter. That doesn't make them real. Reality TV is just unscripted, reality-based baloney. They just kind of make it up as they're going. And it's very goofy stuff. Honestly, very pathetic and goofy stuff. But anyway, there's a lot of effort, and in this letter, I just wanted to thank readers, as I said, for taking the time to provide feedback to me, to look at the book, to download the book, buy the paperback, whatever, because it's them that makes a work come to life. Without you, the reader, those characters don't jump up off the page. They don't have a face, so to speak. You have to read that into them. It is your effort that breathes life into the story. You're the final component of a written work. And it's amazing because if you think about it, it's a window into someone else's mind. And that is really cool. We're always, as a species, trying to figure out what's going on in other people's minds. And it's like a manuscript, a book, does that. You want to know if somebody thinks like you do. You want to know if they're different than you. You want to know what they dream about. You want to know the way that they see things, the colors and the feel and the smells and the tastes. And it's all in books. It's so exciting. And I wish that books were more important to more people. So in February of this year, I penned another letter, and that was a moderately popular read on my site. And I thank the readers again for being patient with me, because I am raising my daughter. She's a young child, and it is my focus right now, other than the blog and the vlog is how I keep up with my writing. Op-dec does have a sequel, and I have been thinking about the rewrite in years. And these binders, this blue one and the green one over here, have the sequels to Triloquio, actually prequels. So I have to adapt those from the, that was high fantasy. I have to adapt it from high fantasy and take that story and bring that over to Agart. So we're going to visit Agart in the next leg of that journey, which actually fed Triloquio. So the Shadow Soul, Burning Down, and Lucent Rise. So Agart sets the stage for what happens with Mael in the trilogy. And it's epic. It's going to be very cool, I promise. And then who knows where I'll go from there. Hopefully really cool places, right? I'm sure you want to see more of the Jinn and the other races, that gave rise to satyrs and all of those things, the Naiades, etc. So in this letter, I just explained what I've been doing in the almost decade since writing that first letter, several decades since starting my writing journey, and where I'm at. And it's like I have 5 books published, which is amazing. And it may not sound like a lot, but when you do the level of crafting and stuff that I do, that's pretty on par. I work full time, and I've gotten 2 degrees within that time, so it makes sense. I'm pretty busy. I don't get to just stay home and do this because people aren't buying books. Authors have to work full time. to support themselves. Rent still needs to be paid. So, raising my daughter, having my daughter, and that emotional toll and how things had to be put on pause. And I talk about, how social media has expanded for me. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok, which is absurd because I've been struggling to get followers, but that site continues to throttle me because I tend to talk about social issues in a way that they want stifled. So, pro-minority stuff, anti-war. I'm not towing the line for corporate and billionaires. So they want that quiet, I'm pro-indigenous and helping amplify those voices, supporting Black women, trans, LGBTQ, of which I am part. Of course, I support my own group. It's very bizarre, but, they don't want to hear from intellectuals. They don't want authors. That was the first hurdle I ran into. I really got super stifled because I came out as an author on there. And I was not out in the rainbow community yet because it isn't safe, Unfortunately, people have a thing or two to say still because, they want 1955, not 2025. And here we are. A lot of the topics and people that I supported contributed to them throttling me. And what I have started to do is dig and find like-minded individuals and follow them and build that out more. It matters to me more, the social issues, than my writing, to be honest. Making a better place for my daughter. Because if things aren't great in the world, books don't sell. But on BlueSky, I have 23,000 followers as of right now, 23.1. And that's why I say I'm throttled, because I know. Yeah. I face the same thing on Facebook pages. Tumblr ignored me. Instagram throttled me. So all of those sites that cater to right-wing ideology and censorship and conservative values and billionaire values, you see where that went, right? Anti-intellectualism manifests in many ways, and that is one of them. Silencing the intellectuals is a mainstay of that effort. So it is incredible that there's only a 10% return on posts, ROI, if you will. So I'll make a post and I only get about 10% views out of my followers. It's gotten slightly better since improving connections and stuff, but not great. Even with filming Finnegan and Garden and, nice stuff, those still don't, And I've made some really bangers, great videos, and even my friends are like, I don't understand it. Well, because the algorithm is working against me. It's preventing me from getting outrage. So, but I'm hoping still, always, for more readers. There's always room for readers. And that's why I keep up on here. And I'm able to speak a lot more on YouTube and on BlueSky, speak freely, unlike the other sites. So you'll find me pulled back quite a bit on these other sites until things get better for us. And hopefully things do get better, because it is an absolute travesty right now what's happening, and our freedoms are dying, withering, and people are basically just saying, oh, please save us. There is no Superman. You're it. You're going to have to get up and get uncomfortable and do this labor because you let it go. You weren't involved enough before. You thought putting on a pussy hat and marching was going to do something. And there's a demographic out there who has said to you, please, for the love of fucking God, do more. And you're like, oh, no, this is enough. This is enough. It's enough. It'll have an impact. It hasn't, and voting hasn't. So now we pay the price all together because there is no Superman. There is no Superman. We either save ourselves or we get ground down. So I hope, and I'm pleading for those who value books and intellect and education and all that is good in this world, realize that you have to stand up. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to do something. I will see you back here next time. Please subscribe. You can find me on BlueSky. My stomach is growling so bad because I haven't eaten breakfast yet. Find me on BlueSky, TikTok, under Captain Mayo. I'll see you next time. Do something.